Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, today we have defending national champions, head men's basketball coach Colby Blaine of the College of Idaho Yotes. Buckle up. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Cascade Hoops Talk, produced in the shadow of the beautiful Cascade Mountains and bringing the world NAIA basketball. One podcast at a time. Today we have Colby Blaine. As you know, he's head men's basketball coach, the College of Idaho out in Caldwell. It's one number. That's all you, or two numbers, I guess. In the last 3 years, 2 national championships, and a record of 104-6, I believe. I had 104-5, 104-6. It's unbelievable. You talk about a team being on a roll. It's been just anyway. 2 national championships, 104-5 or 104. I think it's 104-6. Anyway, Colby Blaine, the College of Idaho. Appreciate him giving us some time. Let's take a listen to the defending national champion, Colby Blaine, College of Idaho. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Colby Blaine on the phone, head men's basketball coach, College of Idaho, the Yotes. Thanks, Coach, for being on.
Billy D, good to hear your voice. I think the last time I saw you was on the main court at Municipal back in March. So good to hear from you.
I got to admit, that was a lot of fun. You know, I can't say I'm a fan of your team because I usually root against you, but
That's fair.
I am a big fan of a lot of the guys, as you already know. I got to really respect Jake O'Neal when he was there, and then you already know how much I respect Drew Wyman, and Stratton Rogers, Caden Handren. Got to know his family back there. Just to be able to talk to those young men, they're after their last game on the court, it was really an honor to be.
Well, we appreciate you helping tell their stories too. You got connected to them because you got to know them and what you're doing for NAIA basketball and sharing their stories with the rest of the world is pretty cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that very, very much. I mean that's what I try to do. I try to give the guys a platform. That's my goal. Anyway, that was very enjoyable. We don't talk about you very much, but you passed. It kind of went unheralded because it was during the end of the season playoff run, but you surpassed 200 wins. I think you're at 206, if I'm correct. Congratulations. I think what are you, 24? You're a pretty young guy.
I'm trying to stay youthful. I've been running more than ever and trying to stay youthful, but I'm getting up there now. So, I appreciate that and lucky to have the best staff in America. I've had my staff now going on year 4. All 3 assistants have been with me now for 4 years. Manny Morgan's been with me for 6. And so pretty cool to have such an incredible staff, be a part of all those wins as well.
That is true. You have kept that same staff together for several years. That's kind of nice. That's kind of reassuring to know that when you step into practice, you don't have to also train an assistant. They can just step right out and do what they know you need done.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I go home at night and I actually reflect on that exact concept of like, man, I didn't even have to ask, for practice to be set up or, my coaches are jumping in during the middle of practice and teaching concepts at a really high national championship type level. And, I will share with you last year at the national tournament, we were there 10 days and not one time did I have to slow down and ask our assistants, like, what are we doing? Where are we eating? Where's our scout at? Not one time. They had it so dialed in. And I think you could see it when we were playing.
You and I were just talking before we started. So many teams are rolling the roster. I don't know how else to say it. You're one of those. I've talked to you probably heard a couple of them. I've talked to a couple of coaches. I tried to tell Matt Zozelle he was going to be the favorite going into the conference, and he denied it. He said, "No, you got to pick Colby." But he's got everybody coming back. But you're coming in for the first time you've had that roster for quite a while. What's it feel like coming in with a new group? It's got to be a different experience.
That's a very good way to put it. It is certainly a different experience. It's a different feeling for sure. And we used to laugh last year when we would practice different concepts, offense and defense, and I'd look at our staff and say, I don't know how we're going to teach this next year when we have 7 new freshmen. And now we're experiencing it. But it's been really fun, to be honest, Billy D. And it's all perspective. Life is all about perspective. And, is it challenging right now? Heck yeah, it is. We've got these expectations and we've got returners that know what our best can look like and feel like. But right now we're 2 weeks into practice and we got a lot to figure out. And, a lot of details and things that I know that are going to come over months, but like we almost want them right now. Yeah. And so there has certainly been a different feeling, and that's been fun because our perspective is let's go through the experience together and we'll get better.
It's an exciting group that you brought in, a young group. But let's talk about your returners first. You've got a great foundation to build on. Samaji at the point, and he's a senior. I mean, that's got to be super invaluable. And then guys like Dougie Peoples, and you got other people coming back, but Samaji and Dougie and Alex Germer coming back as well. So you have a foundation to build on. Talk about your returners.
Yeah, I think we have the best returners we could possibly have for being a brand new team. We've got our 2 point guards back in Samaje Morgan and Utrillo Morris. We have a scoring guard in Dougie Peoples, who you saw made 5 threes in the national championship last year. Like, he's ready and he's capable to score at a high level against any team in the country this year. And then Alex Germer, we've moved him kind of positions, and I think that's going to really benefit him. It's going to be able to exploit matchups a little better for him. And that, if you watch him get confident and settle in, he will really, really start to showcase his talent. But, I do want to circle back to Samaje Morgan, to have an elite point guard every single night that you can count on. They just impact the game in so many ways. Yep. And the things that Samaje can do in terms of creating plays for others. So he helps our team, get open shots, being able to defend the ball at a high level. If we're up late in the game and teams are pressuring us, like, Samaje can beat that pressure. He can make free throws. And so I'm very excited about Samaje as a senior, and I think he's ready to have his best year yet.
When I looked at your roster, and I'd like to know your opinion, I think you just mentioned you're going to have some scoring power coming back. Obviously, Samaje can score the ball from anywhere, and Dougie Peoples can just light up any gym, as you said. But you lost a ton of rebounding. I mean, guys who could just pull them down. I think you lost 30 out of 40 rebounds or something like that. How do you see your rebuild coming into this?
Yeah, well,
or reload. You're reloading.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've heard that on campus a lot about rebuilding, and I try to stop people on that. So, that was our main focus in the recruiting. We lost all of our wings and our bigs to graduation, and so we went out and recruited 6'5" rebounders, and we feel really good about it. Now, are we going to run into some nights where things don't go our way because we're young and youthful? Probably, absolutely, right. But yeah, I really do feel like we recruited the next generation of Yote rebounders. We've been one of the better rebounding teams in the country the last 5 or 6 years. And I think our freshmen are built to rebound at a high level. We in our practices these last 2 weeks, we have gotten a lot of offensive rebounds, which means we've given up a lot of defensive rebounds,
Right.
But I see those guys. It's a natural instinct for them to rebound. And so I actually think, I think you'll be shocked. I think our freshman wings and bigs are tough, and I think that they thrive on rebounding. And so I'm actually not as concerned about rebounding.
Okay.
Even though we did lose all that.
Well, why don't you go ahead and talk about this class you have coming in? You brought in 7. Does the 7 include your red shirt, your big center?
That does not. Chance would make 8 technical freshmen that have not played in a game. Yeah, you're right. And I'll circle back to Chance here in a minute. But, we brought in 7 freshmen, no transfers. We've just found so much benefit to having 4-year guys.
Yep.
And when we got this class put together, the reason we took them was because we thought they were as talented as, any transfers we could have taken. And so I wouldn't have taken 7 freshmen if I didn't think they could play right away. And I think kind of, some headliners maybe in that group. Ray Johnston from Missoula, Montana is a 6'6" forward. He's the two-time Montana Gatorade Player of the Year. He's a three-time state champion. He's lost 2 games in the last 3 years of his life.
Wow.
Like, this guy's an absolute winner. He's a perfect small college guy who can score on the block. He can shoot at a high level. He's got a spirit about him like that. He's got that winning, contagious spirit about him. And so we're going to lean on Ray a lot to play at a forward position. David Klutz, a guy who's ready to come in. He's 6'6", long, athletic wing. He was the Idaho 2A Player of the Year. He ended up making it to the state championship game last year, so he knows what it takes to win. He was the quarterback at his high school. And so he just has this winning mentality. As a big, he's an elite rebounder. So if you can remember, like Jake O'Neal and Stratton Rogers for us, like that's David Klute. David is the next rebounding, fool, I guess I call it for us, the rebounding fool. But so he's ready to make an impact. I think another guy that has showcased already in practice his talents is Connor Sheets. He's a shooting guard out of Fresno, California. He was his conference player of the year. And he has a really smooth, offensive attack. He'll shot fake you, one dribble pull up. He can shoot the three at a high level. He understands motion offense. Like, he's mature beyond his years. And so, he's another guy who's had a lot of experience and winning. His Buchanan high school team in Fresno last year won a lot of games. And then we have a list of freshmen coming in that have all been from great programs. But, you just mentioned Chance Winter. Chance Winter is a 6'11", long athlete. I mean, he runs like an elk out there. Like, he can run for days. In fact, he was upset with me because in our conditioning drill early in the year, I gave him the same time that I gave our point guards at 6'11", because I knew that he's a well-conditioned athlete, like he can run. And so he redshirted for us last year. He ended up putting on 20 or 25 pounds. Needed some time just to learn the game, but he's come in and looks very good in practice, and he can change a game for you with his size and his length and his ability to catch and finish. And so very talented class. We understand that they're going to have moments where they got things to learn. That's just part of being young, but they're all tough. They're all, next play mentality type guys. And so we feel good about heading into the season with them.
There are a lot of freshmen that are going to get a lot of playing time in this conference this season. I think it's going to be, from a fan's perspective, it's going to be a lot of fun because you're going to see just tons of new guys. And as you just said, I mean, the freshmen that are coming into the league, these are elite players across the board.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe why our league's starting to see more freshmen. And the whole NAIA together is that, some of those NCAA schools are just playing in the transfer portal. They're just taking the 23-year-old, right? And so now these incredible freshmen are kind of sitting in the recruiting pool saying, wait a second, what's next for me? And I think the NAIA is doing an incredible job across the board, all over across the country. We're all investing in freshmen because 4-year guys just improve your program, and it improves your experience over the day when you got guys that are just invested in your total journey and your experience. And and so, like you said, are we going to see some interesting storylines throughout the year with all these freshmen in the league? Yes, but this might be the most talented freshman groups we've been seeing at the NAIA level, for the last couple of years. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Colby, I want to talk about something that I didn't hear said too often about your team last year. That's just incredible. Your team, as a team, had almost a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio as a team. If you want to say one thing or see one area of a team's performance that indicates a lot, obviously team play. That sounds pretty silly. That's pretty obvious. But how in the world did you get to that point where the ball was shared that freely?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's really a cool stat to tell the story of last year's team. And if you remember watching us, we didn't play slow. We averaged 86 points a game. Like, we played fast and we shared that ball. I think that stat was a culmination of a bunch of guys who had played a lot of games, and they were able to understand we want to play with pace. We want to play fast because some of the advantages doing that is that you wear your opponent out. You might get some easy baskets, but then you always have to be able to make that mental shift in the middle of a possession where, okay, we're playing fast, but I'm not just going to turn the ball over. I'm not just going to throw a risky pass. And so you saw a really mature team last year that could make that decision of, all right, I'm just not going to throw that one. Like, we'll move on to the next action. It takes a lot of maturity to not turn the ball over. And so I think that tells the story of last year's team. And then, one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is all of our guys can pass and catch. As simple as that sounds, like when we recruit players, position 1 through 5, we want you to be able to pass and catch. Like, we don't want to put a guy out there that doesn't feel comfortable with the ball in his hands. And I think you really saw that last year. Our entire rotation could do that. And Billy, It's something as the year went on, we started to realize, man, this is what we do well. We can pass and catch. And so that got us excited. And that actually kept our pace of play at a high level because our guys knew, all right, let's keep going. We're not going to turn the ball over. Let's just keep playing at pace. We're fine. And so we really bought into it.
That's a really good, but anyway, that's an amazing stat. Just so people know what I'm talking about. Last season, I think it was 639 assists to 320 turnovers. That's just amazing. Let's talk the Cascade Conference last season. 4 teams in the playoffs. 2 ended up in the final 32. Southern Oregon went to the final 8, and you won the championship. Just a really tight, good performance by the conference the last couple of years. Just obviously you've been the highlight of the Cascade Conference, but just talk about the conference's performance nationally.
Yeah, it's really cool to see at the end of the year how our teams perform. And I think the interesting thing too is the tournament's hard because a lot of times you're going to play at other people's gyms. I know the Masters held a regional tournament last year that Southern Oregon had to beat Montana Tech and the Masters at, two incredible programs. And so it just really showcases our ability to play at a high level. I think the league is tough. I think the league is well coached. I think we have players that do championship styles, like statistics, like we rebound, we share, our assists are always high. But watching Southern Oregon move to the Elite Eight last year was really rewarding for our program because we knew what a hard matchup that was. And, sometimes you get on the ranking calls and, you get into the ARC calls and you're trying to explain to other coaches across the country, like, hey, these guys are really good. I know that maybe they have a loss here or there, but they're really good. Well, then for Southern to go out and showcase to everybody in the country that they are an Elite Eight team, it just continues to build that credit for our conference. And so we take joy in it. It's fun to watch this conference have success year in and year out. Billy, I think if you go back and you do your research, I'm pretty positive the Cascade Conference has had a team or two every year in the national championship or Final Four for literally the last maybe 6 out of 8 years, 7 out of 8 years, if you really go back and look at it, which is pretty incredible. We're not just getting to the tournament, but we're moving deep through the tournament.
I'd have to go back and look at that, but just thinking about it in my mind, I think you're right. I want to ask you something a little bit different. I've talked to you before, and I always say Colby Blaine loves redemption games, and you know what I'm talking about. If you lose to somebody, they better bring their big armor the next game. But the shoe's going to be on the other foot this year because you're going down to Glendale and play Arizona Christian, who you just pummeled in Kansas City. Boy, I hope you're ready for that one. Rudder's going to be ready for you, Coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, one thing that we found very fascinating last year was we had a ton of great storylines. Playing Arizona Christian in that Final Four game, the team that played our team that played them last year had lost to them 4 years ago in our first game of the year.
Yep.
The Drew Wymans, the Caden Handrens. And so that was a storyline, right? Langston, we play in the Sweet 16 and they had beat us the year before. That was a storyline. And so that really propelled us last year. And we are completely aware that we are not bringing a storyline into this season, and we're going to have to create that for ourselves. Yeah. And so when I was looking at our scheduling, I was like, who better to go play than Arizona Christian, who year in and year out has incredible talent, and they play long and athletic and fast. And so I said, let's go, let's get down there. Let's give it 40 minutes of hell and see what happens. And so, I know they will be ready, but we're going to try to create a storyline before we get down there and see what we can do.
Yeah, it'll be a fun game for you guys. There's going to be a ton of good games at Arizona Christian this year. I think everybody and their brother is going down to play them. They don't have hardly any conference games, so they can play a lot of non-conference games. I'm going down there to cover, I think it's November 7th and 8th. what are going to be some of the keys for you as you go into this season with this young team?
I think our ability to stick together, because we're going to have tough times. Like, it's going to happen. Our experiences last year were, they were elite. They were fun. They were exciting, right? And we had earned that over the years. We earned that opportunity. And now we have that perception, but we're going to hit tough times because we are young and we have guys playing new roles. But if we can handle the adversities of the season and stick together, we have just as much talent as we've had in the past. We really do. It's just this talent needs time to learn. Yeah. And so, it's going to be a big key to stick together. It's going to be a big key to pour into each other and tell stories and help each other grow as fast as we can. I think a big key for our coaching staff, myself, is figuring out how do we help this team win right now? Like, what do we have to do? Maybe I have to get rid of half of the sets we ran last year. Maybe I've got to change our defense a little bit. And I'm excited about that challenge to figure out, what do we need to do for this team? And so it's going to be a team that has to be nimble and has to be on the fly. But if we'll stick together and we'll play as hard as we always have played, we're going to be in every single game that we play in and have a chance. So that'll be a big ticket.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, I'm sure you are too. I can't wait for basketball. Pretty excited. What about you, Coach?
Oh yeah, I'm fired up. We're in the dog days right now. We're lifting heavy and practicing heavy, and everything's confusing right now. And so we'll give it about 3 more weeks, and then we open up at Wyoming in an exhibition, and then Carroll on the road November 1st. So we're not too far away, and I'm pretty fired up about it.
Oh yeah, and that trip into Helena is no cakewalk.
No cakewalk.
That's a tough place too.
Yes, they are going to bring the heat, and they've got some depth this year, and they play an aggressive style, and so that'll be an awesome opener. And we got a lot of Montana guys, so families will be there, and
that'll be fun.
We're going to start the storylines right there.
Well, Colby, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. Obviously, we'll talk more as the season gets started, but man, I can't wait. But I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes.
You bet, Billy. We'll expect to see you in the gym here very soon, all right?
Be very soon, you bet. Thank you. That's Colby Blaine. He's the head men's basketball coach, College of Idaho, the Yotes. Thank you, Coach.
You bet. Anytime.
Hey, thanks to Colby Blaine and the College of Idaho. I really appreciate Colby giving me a few minutes. You've got to be impressed with what they've done there. Hey, we'll see you back tomorrow. Also, somebody knows a coach named Scott Moore. Tell him, okay, now it's time to come on Cascade Hoops. This is Billy D. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.